Do companies have only one responsibility of making money for shareholders, or they have responsibilities toward their customers, their employees, and society as well? This concept, this question leads us towards the management top concepts, stakeholder theory, stakeholder management, which all the modern organizations are considering, and they want to understand it. As a student, as a professional, as a business owner, you must understand it to succeed in the society. Thanks to Edward Freeman for this wonderful theory that has helped many businesses in connecting the relationship between business and the stakeholders. It expands the view of the business beyond the shareholders. It tells the companies that why customers, society, employees, and everyone is important. Stakeholder theory matters because modern businesses operate in complex environment. They must make the customers happy. In digital era, social media era, customer is really the king. His one complaint can reach to the millions and destroy a brand. And secondly, multiple groups impact the success of an organization. Loyal customers definitely create value in the success of organization, and long term sustainability depends on all the stakeholder management. So what is stakeholder? Stakeholder is any individual or group that can affect or be affected by the organization. It includes internal parties and external parties. Influenced may be direct or indirect by the operations of the organization. So, who are the internal stakeholders? Internal stakeholders are employees, managers, and owners of an organization, while the external stakeholders are the customers, suppliers, government, and the community. Primary versus secondary stakeholders is important to understand because the primary stakeholder must be addressed first, and the secondary stakeholders must be taken care after that. Primary stakeholders are essential. These are investors, customers, and employees. The secondary stakeholders are media, NGOs, and different activists. Stakeholder versus shareholder theory. Shareholder theory is was given by Milton Friedman, and that focus on the profit maximization. The older theory is given in business domain only focused on the profit. Recent theories we discussed, which was balance theory, balance scorecard theory, balance scorecard model, and resource-based theory, and now the stakeholder theory, they balance the interests of all the stakeholders, and they also encourage us to do ethical and strategic work in the organization. Core principles of stakeholder theory are four. The first is value creation for all stakeholders. If you are thinking about customers, employees, then definitely you are taking care of all. Second thing is mutual interdependence is extremely important. Products you are preparing for customers, and definitely your employees are also preparing the things for the customers, and happy employees create happy customers. So there's a mutual interdependence between different stakeholders. This is the reason this is important to understand for the companies. And thirdly, it's ethical responsibility of us to take care of the society, employees, and customers. And for long term success, companies must take care of all these three things. These are the core principles of the stakeholder theory. When we work on the stakeholder theory in the organizations, we are supposed to map different stakeholders. It means we need to identify the key stakeholders, we need to give them points of power and interest, and we need to prioritize the engagement strategy for each stakeholder. This is the most important concept in the stakeholder management, that is power interest matrix. So we list the stakeholders, that these are internal stakeholders, these are external stakeholders. Then we create a matrix. On one side, what we can keep the power. On other side, we can keep the interest. Okay. So if a person who has high power, probably he is here, okay, probably he is here. So this is power, from where we can see the low power, and here we can see the upper bar is about the higher power. Similarly, this is low interest, and this here is the higher interest. And if somebody who is here, mean he has the higher power and he has the higher interest, what we need to do, need to manage him closely, need to work with him closely, need to all the time take care of his interest. Okay. If somebody has high power and low interest, So someone over here, he has the higher power, but his interest is low. So what we can say, we have to keep him satisfied. And if somebody has the lower power and high interest, chances are someone with the lower power and higher interest is sitting here. So we must keep him informed. And somebody with the low power and the low interest, we need to monitor him. So this person, low power, low interest, need to monitor. This person, high interest and low power, what we need to do, we do to keep him informed. This person with high power and low interest, we need to what, we need to keep him satisfied. And this person is high power, high interest, we need to keep him engaged. This is the model of power interest matrix. Stakeholder engagement strategies. Stakeholders can be engaged with the communication. Definitely you need to be transparent with them, particularly those with high power and high interest, or high power low interest. Secondly, we must manage the negotiation and collaboration strategies with them. We must do the corporate social responsibility initiatives to bring all the stakeholders together and ensure that their interests are met very well. And conflict resolution mechanism must be introduced for all the stakeholders. Ethical dilemmas of the stakeholder theory. Businesses have more obligations. Businesses must fairly treat all the stakeholders. Businesses must take care of the environmental responsibility, and organizations must do the welfare involvement, that is addressing the society. Strategic dimension. Strong stakeholder relationship build the long term interest of the company. And definitely the trust building process happens if you are working on something strategic for more than 10 years, for more than 5 years. Trust enhances the reputation, and reputation strengthens the competitive advantage. Stakeholder theory versus corporate governance. You might be thinking about what is the corporate governance. Board must consider multiple stakeholder interest. Transparency improves the accountability and align the governance with the social expectations. Stakeholder theory in public sector organizations. Public sector organization, citizen as a key stakeholder is the public sector organization. Policy must balance diverse interest, and transparency and accountability are essential in the public sector. So stakeholder theory in the age of AI is so important that all the companies of today digital era, they are collecting the data. They must take care of the privacy of the customer. They must use the AI in ethical way. AI gives the individual level, transaction level data. Companies must take care and respect of their data and use it ethically. Digital transparency is extremely important, that whatever you mention, the same should be behind. So these days, companies are all the time supposed to update their customers, shareholders, and stakeholders, including even employees. They must be transparent with them to build their trust and build a long-term relationship with them. Balancing tech innovation with the societal impact, extremely important. That in we are in age where the question is not what we should produce. We can produce anything. The question is, should we produce it or not? Is it ethically okay? Is it in customer perspective okay? All the stakeholders must be engaged and must be okayed in the age of AI. So practical examples: customers demand sustainability, investors demand profitability, government demand compliance. Balancing multiple stakeholders is the key thing that the organizations must do. Advantages of the stakeholder approach is that the companies who focus on stakeholder approach, they build long-term relationships with all the stakeholders. They enhance the corporate image, better image as a responsible company. They reduce the conflicts and they improve the sustainability. Criticism of the stakeholder theory: few people also criticize that it does not balance the interest of all the people, and with this understanding it is extremely difficult to keep the interest of every stakeholder, I mean safe, or maybe comply with stake interest of everyone. We talked about the power interest matrix, and few people say it's difficult to manage everyone's interest. They say also this also may dilute the focus when of profit. Obviously profit is core goal, so they come, few people also object on it, and few say that it is also difficult to measure, and that there are potential managerial confusions. One another criticism, I was when working on it, my manager all the time used to say that your stakeholders keep on changing, stakeholders level keep on changing. Maybe if you are developing a factory in some area, some person is M&A, and he is obviously high interest, high power person. You need to manage him. but his competition is not M&A. So he maybe have the high power. He definitely has the interest, but he might not have the high power. He can have, he not can have at at the point when project was initiated. So when elections happen, it can happen that the guy who was in power becomes powerless, loses the election, and the guy who was not at that time in power is in power. So it's difficult to see when the roles of the stakeholders change. So managerial implications are identified, develop, and align different activities to satisfy the stakeholders. Students must understand stakeholder definition clearly. They must differentiate the stakeholder shareholder. They must explain the power interest matrix. They must provide examples with their discussions are that the questions, if you watch this video and you understood the concept, tell me in the comment section. Should profit always comes first? What do you think? How does AI affect the stakeholder management, and can stakeholder theory improve the governance? Common mistake people make in the stakeholder theory are ignoring the key stakeholders, lack of transparency, short term focus only, future failure in the communication. So key takeaways we can learn from this lecture is that theory broadens the strategic perspective, balance interests for the sustainability, ethics and strategy are interconnected, and AI era increases the stakeholder accountability. Thank you. See you in the next lecture.